Welcome again to What's Up Neighbors with Pam and Linda.
Hi, and welcome to What's Up Neighbors.
You know, I always wonder if people think, do we really have something in here, because we're always moving around and everything. So anyway, and Linda, isn't this
Looks empty to me.
I wonder. So, well, we're at the
Altadena Historical Society. Pam and I were talking, and we decided what better place to go if we were going to do something on historical Altadena.
Right.
So here we are.
I know. And look, and I brought this. This is historical. This was my megaphone when I was a cheerleader in high school.
I guess not that heavy.
Nothing like breaking something at the historical
Very
society.
well.
This is very antique.
Actually, it's from Echo Mountain. It's a megaphone, or Echo, what was it called? Echo...
I don't know, but maybe Eric will tell
Echophone.
us.
Ah, yes, the Echophone.
Great.
Well,
So-
Pam, today we are so lucky. We've got Eric Mulfinger here. So, Eric, come on over.
Hey, we're going to
And-
put our mugs down.
So great to see you, and thank you for participating with Pam and Linda. Or maybe it should be
Eric.
Eric, Pam, and Linda. Yes,
Okay.
exactly. Well, Eric is a former teacher, and he volunteers now at the Altadena Historical Society. And I also know, Pam and I were told, that he also serves as a volunteer up in the mountains, cleaning up the trails with volunteers, which is pretty cool. We're not going to talk about that right now, though. We'll talk about that later. But Eric, if you could just give us some insights about some of the interesting individuals who have called Altadena their home, we'd love to hear about it.
Well, Altadena was settled in the 1880s, so there's been a lot of people in and out of here over the decades.
Okay.
A few people that stand out, people might recognize, would be Zane Grey, the Western author, Richard Feynman, the Nobel physicist,
We heard
and he lived over in East Altadena. Let's see, a couple other people. Oh, we have some pictures of Mabel Normand, a famous silent film actress, Jureur Zorthian. I think you may have visited.
Oh,
did.
yes.
That's
yes.
another show, right?
As
yeah,
did
famous
Feynman.
artist. Yeah, and Feynman.
That's right.
That's right. We had, also Zane Grey's mistress also lived here. Her house is around as well.
I mean, she had her own house?
She had her own house.
That's convenient.
It was matching over there on the east side of Altadena. Also, going back to the original days of Altadena, Owen Brown and his brother Jason, who were sons of John Brown the abolitionist, managed to make their way out to Altadena and lived on the ridgetop between Millard Canyon and El Prieto Canyon for about a decade. Owen died here, and his grave is still up there to come go and
I
visit.
know they've got a monument to him.
There's a monument to him, although the original is in hiding. There's a replica here in the park nearby.
Okay.
The original was actually stolen once.
Oh,
so
really?
they had to...
Oh my
Had to be pretty heavy.
Yeah, they rolled it down the hill.
Okay.
So anyway, yeah.
That's wonderful.
That's it.
So you have a Millionaire's Row here, which is interesting because we've only heard of Millionaire's Row on Orange Grove in Pasadena, but now you have one in Altadena, and I'm wondering about that. And also, if people would like to tour some of these historical homes, and there are many in Altadena. Are they open to the public, or can you get a map? Or are they private? Or
Well, none of the historical homes on Millionaire's Row are open to the public. They're all privately owned still, which of course means they're pretty well maintained for the most part.
Street is Mariposa, right?
Yes,
Mariposa.
and if you wanted to see Millionaire's Row, the best thing to do would be to go to Fair Oaks and Mariposa, which is a little east of here, and you drive about a mile east, and you follow the old red car line.
Okay.
It came from Fair Oaks to Lake on Mariposa. It's a wide street because the streetcar used to run there. And you'll see homes, the Altadena Library is where Colonel Green's mansion used to be. And I think he built the Green Castle Green.
Oh, he did?
Oh, in Pasadena,
he
which
was
we
the
haven't
guy.
gotten there yet.
Yeah. So he was in charge of that.
Okay.
Andrew McNally from Grand County Maps has a mansion that's still there.
Okay.
The Scripps home is still there. It's now the Pasadena Waldorf School, which is in the trees. It's pretty nice. There's also an old mansion that is now run by the Theosophical Society.
Try and say that 10 times.
That is
that?
an original New Age movement from about a century ago.
Oh,
and
wow.
They've been here a long time. That's their international headquarters.
And they're still going
They're still
on?
going on, yeah. And they
And
have
so-
another building here on Lake as well. So,
that's
yeah, so it's kind of a universal religion society. It's an
Okay.
interesting group.
Who founded that? Or
Well, a woman in Russia named Madame Blavatsky Yes, so
Okay.
that's the founder, and they have
interesting.
several facilities throughout the U.S., but this is I think, the international headquarters, they call it. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Very interesting.
Good. So I just want to ask you, at the turn of the century, all right, so the Mount Low Railroad
Yeah.
took people from the tops of Mount Low and Echo Mountain, and then people would stay at the Echo Mountain House. And
Right.
then I remember talking to you earlier, and you, not today, but a while ago, about the
Yeah.
Alpine Tavern.
Yeah.
And so what happened to the railway and
Right.
the inns and the taverns?
Yeah, well,
And are there any remnants
there are
left
some
today?
things left. Yeah,
Okay.
they built it in 1893, 95, in that time period,
Oh.
and the railway went from about here up lake a little bit, and then took you up into the mountains. There was an incline railway that at the time was the biggest in the world, about 3,000 feet up, and it had a pretty good grade. They built one hotel at Echo Mountain in 1893. It burned 7 years later. So fires were pretty big problem then too,
Kitchen
right?
fire, probably?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
They didn't replace it, but they did. They extended the rail line 3 miles, and you can still follow this route. The 3 miles up into the mountains, they built something called the Alpine Tavern, which you mentioned. That was built in 1895, and it lasted until 1936 or so, when it burned down.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
There were a lot of fires, a lot of landslides. It was
Yeah.
very hard to maintain,
Huh.
but it was up
And
there.
it was way on top of the mountain.
Yeah, and there's a
Oh,
campground there now called the Mount Low Campground.
Okay.
There are remnants of foundations and things like that there. It was up and running during Prohibition, of course, too, so it was actually a pretty popular place during Prohibition.
Sure was.
Rumor has it they had a still up there to talk through the road stuff. So,
Oh my gosh.
but a lot of Hollywood celebrities would go up there for the weekend, sometimes incognito because they were engaged in some tryst of some kind. So, yeah, a lot of interesting
Okay,
stories. There are.
I know. And I
yeah.
wanted to ask you, don't you live in Altadena?
I do too.
So, and you've lived here, I think, quite a while.
Yeah, for about 30 years.
Oh my God. So what made you move to Altadena? Like, what attracted you?
Well, it's close to the mountains, and it is a pretty, it's just a really interesting community. We've got a lot of different sorts of folks up here, all age groups, and the history I always liked. So, and plus at the time it was cheaper.
For California,
that's great.
I get
Good
it.
to know.
I get it.
Good.
Well, and also we had alluded earlier that you're maintaining the hiking and biking
Yeah.
trails. And we were just in La Cañada, and I know La Cañada also
That's a good
is
trail.
known for
Yeah.
hiking and biking,
Yeah.
but also Altadena
Yeah.
is well known. And could you kind of give us an idea of what are some easy trails
Yeah.
versus a little bit harder, and are they both good for mountain biking
Right.
as well as hiking?
Yeah. Well, there's 3 main trailheads in Altadena. Count Eden Canyon, 4 main trailheads. The first one is the Arroyo Seco over near JPO,
Right.
near La Cañada.
Right. I've been on
And you can walk up the Arroyo Seco, a nice gentle walk. It's usually shaded. There's streams
Right,
there. It's good for
right.
biking, and you see kids and dogs and everything up there. It's a
Great.
nice trail.
Great.
The next one over would be Millard Canyon.
Uh-huh.
That's a little more rugged, probably not for bikes, but you drive up Cheney Trail Road, and you can park behind a ridge. Waterfall's about a quarter mile away, so that's not too far. And there's a little more rock hopping there. But it's okay. The top of Lake is another trailhead. If you go to the very top, there's a gate, an old gate from an old estate there that was preserved. But behind the trail, you can walk up 2.5 miles to Echo Mountain.
Oh my
Okay, so
gosh.
that's where you see the remnants
Yeah,
of
you see a lot of
hotel.
Yeah,
Okay.
the hotels up there.
Oh,
There's some
interesting.
some interpretive signs as well, so you can see what used to be there.
Interesting.
It's a 2.5 mile hike uphill though,
Oh.
and it's sun exposed, so that's not to go on a hot day.
I know that when I hike with my husband and friends, and we go on these trails, they're so well maintained.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that in terms of how often
Yeah.
you go up, what kind of crew, and
Right.
how do you decide which trails you're going to maintain?
Yeah. Well, there are several volunteer trail groups. In fact, the National Forest relies completely on volunteers now.
Really?
They have trail
Okay.
maintenance done, unless there's some big serious landslide and they need to get through it for fire prevention. We notice whenever there's a forest fire, the roads are cleared. But aside from that, there are our volunteer crew works in Millard Canyon. There's another crew that works on the Echo Mountain Trail.
Gosh.
And it's it is a lot of work, but it's really rewarding. It's actually you see the work you've completed that day, right? And
That's
this is
wonderful.
better than it was, and so yeah, and your office is wonderful too because you always have a view or the streams running nearby. But yeah, it's all locally and volunteer maintained.
Wonderful. That's just
Yes.
great. Well, Eric, thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much. It's just been a pleasure.
And we appreciate it. And now that we hope that you know a little bit more about Altadena, and Eric was able to give us an insight to it. And so we hope you enjoy our little show. And we will be back next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.